Have you ever wondered who decides how much a home is worth? It's definitely not Zillow. Determining a home's value is a bit complex, and there are a number of ways to make that determination. When it comes to home values, there really is no indisputable number that a home is worth. A single home can have multiple valuations depending on the method. A lot of it is a matter of opinion. It really comes down to how much is somebody willing to pay to buy this home? I'm going to explain some of the different methods for valuing a home and what each one means. First up is the appraisal. By definition, an appraisal is an unbiased opinion of a home's value. It's determined by a licensed appraiser. Appraisers will visit the property in person, take photos, measurements, and evaluate the home's condition. They will also look at the surroundings. They research recent sales in the area, and they deliver a final appraisal report. Appraisers do go through extensive certification and training, and they do base their decisions in fact, but at the end of the day, an appraisal is really an opinion. An appraiser could say today that a home is worth $320,000. A different appraiser could come tomorrow and say they feel that it's worth $310,000. It's not an exact science. Appraisal reports are valuable, but if a home appraises for a specific amount, does that mean that tomorrow you'll be able to sell the home for that exact amount? No. From a buyer's perspective, if your lender orders an appraisal and the home appraises for more than you're buying it for, that's always good news. Does it mean that you have instant equity and you could sell it tomorrow for more than you paid for it? Not necessarily. Appraisals do not predict future market conditions. They are basing it on a snapshot of the market conditions today. The next home valuation that I want to talk about is the tax assessment. A tax assessment is the amount that the local government assigns to your property for the purposes of determining what you owe in property taxes each year. Tax assessors work for the government. They typically consider property size, location, land value, and any improvements that may be on record. Tax assessors assess on a broader scale. They are taking all of those things into consideration, but a big difference between a traditional appraisal and a tax assessment is that the tax assessor typically is not coming to the home in person. They are doing it on a large scale, valuing all of the homes in an area just based on data that's already on record. It is common for an assessed value to be higher or lower than market value because, again, it is done for tax purposes. Local governments do sometimes adjust a little bit higher or a little bit lower depending on how much money they need in their budget. And also, tax assessments may lag behind current market conditions, and they also don't necessarily take into account future market conditions. If you disagree with the tax assessment assigned by the government, you can appeal it. The next type of home valuation is a CMA, which stands for Comparative Market Analysis. And this is generally performed by a real estate agent. Typically, a CMA is performed when you are preparing to list your home for sale. Your agent is trying to help you decide how much you can sell it for. A CMA is not an official analysis like an appraisal or a tax assessment. A CMA is calculated by looking at homes similar to yours that have been recently sold or are on the market currently. Ideally, we are looking for properties that are similar in size, age, and location. We look at how those homes were or are priced, how long they took to sell, and we also take into account any renovations that have been recently done or what floor the unit is located on. And the result is often a price range, not just a specific price. So the goal is to price the home competitively so we can protect the value, but make it realistic enough to attract buyers. There are online tools that can perform CMAs, but those are based on algorithms and they don't necessarily reflect human judgment or buyer sentiment. When we're talking about properties in the city, especially in large condo buildings, values can vary significantly from one building to the next. You might have one building that's 6 floors tall and all the views are of buildings around them. And then you have a high rise a block away that's 40 floors high, has lots of amenities. If you live in that 6th floor building with no amenities, the online calculator might still take into consideration units in that high rise with lots of amenities in your CMA. But we know in practice, that's really not how it works. When you're selling a condo, you have to compare to other units in the same building, or if there's not enough data there, we would have to look for another building as close as possible to that one, where the building and the unit are very similar. So we really have to compare apples to apples. A home's market value, just like anything else a person can buy, is impacted by supply and demand. If demand exceeds supply, prices go up. If supply exceeds demand, prices go down. And if supply and demand are the same, then prices will remain for the most part flat or may increase incrementally. Even a home doesn't have a black and white market value. Your market value can change from one day to the next depending on market conditions. Market value is simply what would the average buyer be willing to pay for it. Ideally, the home will sell for an amount within the range provided by the CMA. So in conclusion, nobody can really place an exact value on a home and say this is what it's worth, because home valuation is very nuanced and it changes day by day depending on market conditions. And also it is subject to opinion. So if you are preparing to sell your home, find an agent and ask for their opinion, and ultimately they will perform a CMA and give you a good picture of what your home might sell for. And then ultimately, based on that expert opinion, it is really up to you to decide how much you want to list for. And my last advice, while online calculators for home value can be useful, just know they are not 100% reliable. You can use that generally as somewhat of a guide. It gives you a little bit of an idea of what to expect, but ultimately it's not 100% accurate. Thank you for watching. If you would like to find out how much your home is worth, please reach out to me. I am a licensed real estate agent. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. Have a good day. Bye.